14 people are packed into a plane the size of a school bus, and for the next 14 hours, none of them are allowed to fully relax. Not the pilot flying tight circles around a fixed point on the ground, not the gunner strapped behind a howitzer that's about to fire around the size of a fire extinguisher, not the sensor operator who hasn't blinked at his screen in 20 minutes because the one time he looks away might be the time something changes on the ground. This is a night shift for an AC-130 gunship crew, and almost nobody outside the Air Force has any idea what it actually involves. The AC-130 doesn't work like a normal warplane. A fighter jet screams in, drops something, and leaves. The gunship loiters. It circles overhead for hours, sometimes most of the night, providing cover for troops on the ground below. That endurance is the entire point of the aircraft. But endurance for the plane means endurance for the humans inside it, and the human body was not built for a 14-hour night shift, spent flying banked turns in a pressurized metal tube while people underneath you are trying to kill each other. Start with who's actually on board. A gunship crew isn't 2 pilots and a co-pilot. It's closer to 13 or 14 people, each with a job that can't be paused. Pilots and a navigator up front, a fire control officer, and an electronic warfare officer managing threats. Then in the back, the part most people never think about, a flight engineer, a loadmaster, sensor operators watching infrared and television feeds, and a group of aerial gunners actually loading and firing the weapons. That back section is loud, cramped, and smells like hot metal and hydraulic fluid. There's no galley, no bathroom in the way a passenger jet has one. There's barely room to stand up straight near the guns, and this is the environment where a crew is expected to stay sharp enough to tell the difference between a farmer and a fighter at night from thousands of feet up for hour after hour. So how do they actually eat? The honest answer is whatever doesn't require a fork and won't spill during a hard turn. MREs are the backbone, and air crews lean on the components that survive turbulence and can be eaten one-handed: crackers, peanut butter, dehydrated fruit, protein bars stuffed into flight suit pockets before takeoff. The Air Force has actually tried to formalize this. Researchers at the Army's food lab spent years developing something closer to grab-and-go aircrew meals because they noticed operators were skipping food entirely rather than deal with the mess of a full MRE at altitude. One version even packed calories into squeezable tubes, so a gunner could get a few hundred calories without taking his eyes off his station. And there's a second problem nobody likes to talk about, which is what happens when a 14-hour mission and a full bladder collide. There's no bathroom back there. Crews rely on the same solution fighter pilots have used for decades, a sealed relief pouch with absorbent gel inside, because on a mission this long, waiting until landing isn't an option. Then there's staying awake. A gunship crew flies almost exclusively at night, both because the aircraft is more survivable in the dark, and because that's usually when the troops it's protecting need it most. That means every one of these missions is fighting the body's own circadian rhythm. Coffee and energy drinks show up, but not as heavily as you'd expect, because a jittery gunner handling a 105mm round is a liability, not an asset. Some units have actually experimented with caffeine-free energy formulas built specifically for operators who need alertness without the shakes. What matters more than any drink is rotation. On a mission this long, the crew doesn't all stay locked at full intensity the entire time. Pilots and sensor operators trade off attention during quieter stretches of the loiter. Gunners rest between fire missions, and the flight engineer keeps a mental clock on who's been staring at a screen too long. It's not a formal nap schedule. It's closer to controlled pacing, spreading the mental load across 13 people so no single person is expected to be at their sharpest for 14 straight hours. Because when the moment actually comes, there's no room for a slow reaction. In November 2016, a gunship crew call sign, Spooky 43, spent hours over a firefight in Afghanistan, firing danger-close rounds within just a few meters of American troops to help drag wounded soldiers out of the kill zone. That's not a job for someone running on fumes. Every system on that aircraft exists to make sure the person behind the trigger is still making good decisions in hour 12, not just hour 1. The airframe itself is under just as much strain. These are some of the hardest worked aircraft in the entire Air Force inventory, flying missions so demanding that maintenance crews have had to replace wing structures years ahead of schedule just to keep them airborne. For every hour one of these planes spends in the air, ground crews put in more than a dozen hours keeping it flight-worthy. The gunship crew isn't fighting fatigue alone. The plane is fighting it too. And that's really the story underneath all of it. An AC-130 mission looks, from the outside, like a machine doing a job. From the inside, it's 13 or 14 people managing their own exhaustion in real time, spacing out food, rationing bathroom breaks, trading off attention, all so that when troops on the ground key up the radio and ask for help, someone in that plane is alert enough to answer. Nobody sees any of this. There's no highlight reel of a gunner eating a protein bar between fire missions, no medal for staying awake in hour 11. But it's the part that makes everything else possible. The guns get the attention. The crew's ability to simply function hour after hour in the dark is what actually keeps people alive.